Before I begin this, there's a new poll, so go ahead and comment your ideas, and you can have a chance of me doing your what if ideas, guys. So yeah, go ahead, check it out, and yeah, enjoy. So yeah, I'm back with part 9 of What If Naruto Was the King of the Curses, Sukuna. Remember to get this one too. 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also, guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other What Ifs of the other channels. Yes, I indeed have 4 more channels if you're new. Anime King, Anime King 2, Anime King 3, and Anime Prince. Links will be down in the description, so go ahead, check them out, and yeah, enjoy. So without further ado or waste no more time, what do you say we begin this new episode start? Now, guys. So the last part we left off, as Naruto places cursed energy inside of Teiwaya, making her join his side. She was changing. However, at that very moment, Sasuke emerged from his coffin as he saw Naruto. Naruto wondered if his first words were about Sakura's death, but the Uchiha did not seem to care about that much. But he seemed a bit pissed off, but his goal was different now. While that was going on, Shikamaru and the others made their way. Shikamaru had sent Kiba to rush back to inform Konoha, while Neji was the fastest they need heavy hitters. So with that, the battle commenced between Naruto and Sasuke. Sasuke had grown a lot, however, throughout the whole battle, Naruto was merely toying with him. The both of them clash. They start to cause chaos as Naruto was dragging the battle on longer and longer, showing and mocking Sasuke throughout it all. The Uchiha got frustrated as he quickly went to his second stage. Lee arrived as Shikamaru had a plan. Despite the fact that Sasuke was now trying to flee the village, they had to all work together, otherwise they will all be doomed. So with that, Shikamaru planned perfectly. Lee attacked Naruto. Drawing his attention, Shikamaru used his shadow to grab Naruto, while Choji and Neji grabbed the both of his hands for extra security. Shikamaru shouted at Sasuke to do it now. Sasuke wasted no time as he rushed forward and shouted Chidori. The attack obliterated Naruto's heart. They let him go as he collapsed dead. It was at that moment that Kimimaro arrived on the scene. Kimimaro was actually pleased that Naruto was no longer with them, given his last interaction with him, and his clear disrespect towards Orochimaru. However, while that was going on, something was happening inside of Naruto's mind. The part of him that was behind that cell was still there. However, the people that were causing him problem internally was Kushina and Minato, parents of the real Naruto. Yes, Kushina did have a child. However, Naruto, the one that was there now, was able to rewrite his DNA. That one was Sukuna. He fused with him and took over the child, being reborn as Naruto. Where his essence came from, none of them truly know. So with that, they were about to cause him to die. However, they did not realize that the cell was holding back not a soul or not a physical form, but cursed energy. And the moment the cell crumbled, said cursed energy slammed into Naruto. A part of him that was sealed away. Minato and Kushina were frightened, terrified, as he was now free. When Naruto opened his eyes and got to his feet, everyone was shocked. They thought he was dead. as he remembered everything. He remembered who he was, the king of them all, the king of all curses, the demon, the god, Sukuna. 5 of Naruto's fingers were sealed inside of that cell. Yes, 5 of his fingers. His battle with the sage, Naruto was never at 100% because he was still connected to the strange spiritual world where all the curses was. So he came out at 15%. Each tail beast had 1 of his fingers. Well, not anymore because he took 1 from Gaara, so that made 8 out there. The 9 tails was inside of him. However, the part of Naruto that was trapped in the cell, it was crushed. During his fight with the sage, Naruto had sent his essence inside of the Jubi when the sage was recalled in the chakra of the beasts. Therefore, it had been inside of the Jubi and waiting, the 5 fingers that is, while the rest of him was sealed away. Those 5 fingers, they were able to get into the 9 tails when the sage split it into 9 pieces, and it resided there for a very long time until Naruto's birth. When he saw his opportunity, that is when the Shinigami had came to take Minato's soul. Some of him got free as he leaked into the baby Naruto system, while the rest of him trapped behind the bars, because they thought it was the 9 tails, but it was really 5 fingers of Sukuna, just a portion of his power. And now that he had that back, 7 in total, he was destructive. However, before he began, Teiwaya arrived as she brutally ripped Kimimaro apart. She was different, overflowing with raw power. Naruto then attacked the others. It was merciless, chaotic, pure destruction, as Naruto ripped Neji's arms clean off and crushed his skull, ending the Hyuga. He ripped out 1 of Lee's eyes and broke several of his bones. He almost snapped Shino in half. Before knocking him away, he crushed Choji into the ground. And he let Shikamaru watch all of that. Kakashi arrived as Naruto used the man-only lightning blade to end Sasuke by allowing Kakashi to drive that attack through him, and he held Sasuke in the way as well. Kakashi killed his own student by accident. Naruto enjoyed the look on his face, but it was time to go. He had more important things to do. So with that, he took Teiwaya, and the both of them made their way off. Returning back to the Hidden Leaf, it was a truly sad affair, with all the deaths and chaos. Yes, it was extremely terrible. Neji and Sasuke dead, the rest gravely injured. Zetsu had reported back to the Akatsuki. Itachi was shocked by the news. However, he did not let it show on his face. But yes, it truly did affect him. His one hope to make the name of the Uchiha once again good was now gone. His hope for the clan, his younger brother, was killed. An unbelievable rage swelled over him, a rage that he could barely control. The man was mad, furious. We then skipped to Naruto and Teiwaya, as Naruto made his way, with his second in command there as well, Teiwaya to the other side. Naruto sat in his throne, all of the cursed spirits that he was able to bring back, because he sealed them inside of human's body. They were still here, countless of them. However, the thousands that were still in the cursed world, it was about time that he freed them, as Naruto stood to his feet and gave a speech, flaring them all up. It was pure excitement, all of them wishing to cause chaos, to turn the world into what he desired before the sage got in his way. It was time that he was back, and he was back now, and he was loving every single second of it. So yeah guys, basically let's spell it off. You guys can switch across the playstick of yourself, so we jump right into this brand new episode. Begin now guys. We begin this episode with Tsunade Senju, the 5th Hokage of Konoha. She sat in her chair. So much has happened. However, the most valid thing that was now going around the elemental nation was this boy, Over the years, Konoha had generated some terrible villains. Orochimaru for one, Itachi Uchiha. However, none of them compared to Naruto Uzumaki. None of them at all. It's been 3 years since the death of Sasuke Uchiha and Neji Hyuga. On that day when Naruto cemented himself as a greater threat than any of Konoha's other enemies. After all, there wasn't another Konoha enemy that had killed Akagi, and Naruto killed Hiruzen Sarutobi. However, the boy was on a killing spree for the past couple of years. The world was not safe at the moment. Tsunade gaze was focused on a bingo book. Every nation, including Kiri that had just recovered, placed the boy in their book as a threat. He's been to every nation. He's been causing a lot of ruckus. Despite the fact that Konoha was not allied with any other nation but the San, Tsunade was able to meet with the Raikage. He was the one that called the meeting because he believed that Konoha was using Naruto as a ploy for Konoha to gather the rest of the tailed beasts and conquer them all. Tsunade had tried to pound it into his head that they were not allied with Naruto. The man was stubborn though. However, the fact that Naruto did kill the last Uchiha and the Hyuga and even the Hokage, well, that kind of squashed a lot of his theory on that. As of this moment, every nation that still had their tailed beast was in hiding. Yes, the 2-tail and the 8-tail was placed in hiding. The 5 and the 4-tail was placed in hiding as well. The 6-tail had been taken. The wild 3-tail after Yagura's death had also been taken as well. The boy did not try to hide it. He did not try to shy away from the truth. In his pursuit of the tailed beasts, he has slaughtered at least a dozen ninja from all nations in the most ruthless and unmerciful way possible. It had been pure chaos. Kiri had lost their 2 tailed beasts. Utakata, the holder of the 6th tail, had an apprentice. She was found alive. Utakata was the reason why she lived, because he used himself as a bargaining chip, buying her enough time to get away so that she wouldn't be slaughtered. Over 3 dozen Kumo ninjas has been slaughtered in Naruto pursuit to gain the tail beasts. However, he did not get his hands on them because they were in hiding. Taki had secretly handed their Jinchuriki over to none other than Konoha because they were the only ones that he could trust to keep her safe. The leader of the village, he was known as Shibuki. Shibuki was good friends with Fu. He saw her as someone that he wanted to protect, and he realized that there is no possible way that he could protect her from this threat. So he sat down with Tsunade and spoke to her. As of this moment, the girl was safely kept in Konoha. She was underground. Tsunade also believed that this was good, because there was no doubt that Naruto would come after her, and they could finally put one of their greatest enemies to rest after all the things that he's done. She has been stretched to the max, with the outside problems and also the inside problems. Hiruzen was old and he was not running Konoha right. A lot of things had happened in his time when he was getting up in the ages. She had made sure to make it clear to certain people, Danzo especially, that she was not someone to trifle with. A lot of the students has also changed as well. Given the recent deaths, a lot of them were out for Naruto's blood. Neji Hyuga, member of Team 9, was ruthlessly slaughtered, killed before he could reach his prime. His head was squashed like a grape. Rock Lee lost one of his eyes in the battle, which wasn't that bad. Shikamaru had been put in a state of depression. His first mission as a leader and, well, it went so bad. It turns out the injuries were more worse than she thought. The internal bleeding for Choji was severely bad. There was a 50-50% chance of him dying. However, she was able to pull him out of it. But that event has scarred Shikamaru Nara. As much as he pretended like he was too lazy to care about much, he cared about his comrades and his friends. And after what he let happen, because he was blaming himself, despite his father and Asuma talking to him, telling him that it was not his fault, people died all the time. However, all of them had one thing in common. All of them now had a deep-seated hatred for Naruto. Asuma was the son of Hiruzen after all. Everyone was gunning to end his life. Ino lost her best friend because of him. And she also lost her crush, which was Sasuke. Kakashi Hatake had changed as well. In the past, he was known to be ruthless. It was just recently that he was starting to open up back. However, he's went so far in his shell that he couldn't be found. He had came to Tsunade and personally request to be placed back in Anvu. She saw his mental state, and she wanted him to be somewhere where he would have a confident team to back him. So she did, and placed him back in Anvu, because as of this moment all of his students were gone. 2 were dead and the other, well, Konoha was gunning to end his life for all that he did. So yes, Konoha had been in a really bad mood ever since. And the fact that Naruto was still alive and causing all of this problem was making things a lot worse. Not to mention their ally, the San. The San had lost his Jinchuriki as well. It was a year back. There was an encounter. No San ninjas made it. When they arrived, they saw the bodies. They can only assume that Naruto was the one that arrived, somehow finding about the mission that Gaara was on, and kidnapped Gaara. Things was shaky there from the beginning. However, the second in command, his name was Baki. He was the right-hand man for the Kazekage before Orochimaru ended his life. The man had known the in and out of the village and knew how to run things. He was placed in a position temporarily, but after the loss of Gaara, they decided to make it permanent for the time being. They wanted someone experienced, someone with more knowledge to control and handle all the downfall that was coming. The world was shaky at the moment. It seems like a war was going to break out, and this war was going to be all the nations against one boy. And Tsunade was afraid of the outcome, because over time Naruto's strength seemed to be rising at an abnormal pace. Jiraiya was still after him. She was also worried for Jiraiya's safety, but he believed that he could finally stop Naruto once and for all, and he believed that it was his responsibility, given that the boy was Minato and Kushina's son, and he was his godfather, and the fact that he failed to see the true darkness that lie in the boy's soul. However, Tsunade was worried. Every time she would dream that a toad would come to Konoha with a letter, saying that Jiraiya was gone, and she was truly terrified of that outcome. However, he was not listening to her. Despite the fact that she was a damn Hokage, he believed that this was his right, and he had to do this. And she knew he had to, and forbidding him from doing it would only cause problems. However, she was afraid that this was going to cost him his life. This boy has taken a lot already. He don't deserve to take any more from them. None at all. She released a heavy sigh. She just hoped Jiraiya would be enough, or that someone else out there would be enough to stop him in his conquests. She had no idea what he was after, why he wanted all the beasts, or what he intended to do with them. Given his bloodthirsty nature and his aptitude for killing, she feared what was going to happen. Time skip. Unknown area. The more he ran, the louder the whistling seemed to get. Who, you might ask? Well, it was simple. A man that was feared by many. A man that has slaughtered many. A man that has brought many down to their knees. Powerful individuals. He's done some sick, twisted things over the years. He's been said to seek true immortality, and yet, here he was, running for his life. Orochimaru of the Sannin ran. He ran and ran and ran as he leaped. Finally, he reached to an open space. The moment he was outside, all of the sound ninjas release the explosives. The entire underground facility erupted. A violent, chaotic blast incinerated the entire place. For the past 3 years, Orochimaru had been furious. His one chance, his one desire that he was after, was to gain Sasuke Uchiha's body. But that was taken away from him. Naruto made sure of that. And he made sure that the boy's eyes would not be usable. Because he knew what Orochimaru desired. He did it to just piss him off. Naruto has been hunting him for the past year. It seems like he was not on top of the list. Until further down, he was able to find out that Teiwaya had joined him. Orochimaru tried to activate the failsafe that he put in all of the seals. However, it was not working. Something happened to her curse mark, so he could not end her life. The Sannin has been hunted. Everywhere he went, he figured that Teiwaya informed Naruto of all of his hiding spots. He's been laying low. Countless of his own shinobis has been killed. Over 50 plus in the span of a few months. And that was the times that Naruto had caught on to him. And now, the boy was able to find him once again. However, Orochimaru had made sure that all of his bases have safety features to erupt whenever the boy catch on to his scent. However, despite the colossal explosion, laughter could be heard. That sick, twisted, psychotic laughter. You might ask, why doesn't just Orochimaru fight him? However, the problem was Naruto was already vastly stronger when he was younger. Yes, able to resist the hands of the Shinigami itself. Over the past few years, his strength had increased to surprising levels. Orochimaru wanted to see the true strength of the boy before he engaged. The last time he rushed into something without knowing the true strength of that person, he almost died. He would have died if it wasn't for Kabuto coming there to save him from that damn Uchiha Itachi. And now, Orochimaru stood here. However, he couldn't escape this one. He was always a step ahead. But now the boy had arrived and catch him off guard. And despite that explosion, he still was alive. Naruto came walking out of the burning heap. Debris and stones being blown away. He has truly grown, despite the fact that it's only been 6 years. His growth was abnormal. He was now standing at an impressive 6'3". His blonde hair was spiky and wild, giving him a predator look. His body now had the black markings all around him. It was in his face, going down his arms, traveling down his neck as well. But that was not all. He now had 2 more eyes. They were under his original eyes. His face was more mature, but it was still set in that diabolical grin. He was not wearing a shirt, just pants and sandals. The more of his power that he received, the more he changed. It was after he took the last tail beast, the finger from it, that he gained these eyes. He remembered them quite well after all. All of his knowledge had returned. He knew who he was. He knew what he desired. And this time, there is nothing that would stand in his way. This time, he would not fail. Hunting down Orochimaru was just taking things off his bucket list. He had told the Sannin that he was going to kill him after all. And also, he enjoyed a good fight every now and again. As Naruto glanced up to see at least 30 of the Sound Ninjas, he surprised the Sannin still had so much more after the massacre that he had committed. Naruto's gaze fell on the Sannin. I'm surprised. Have you stopped running? Or are you that scared that you can't move? Naruto said with a cocky grin plastered on his face. Orochimaru returned his grin with a smile of his own. No, that's where you're wrong, he said. You were never the sharpest tool. So let me tell it to you slowly. I was just wondering, how exactly am I going to kill you, the Sannin said, a smile on his face. Is that so, said Naruto. Orochimaru raised his hand. When he lowered it, all of his 30 plus ninjas jumped downwards, flashing through hand sign as they did. Naruto merely smiled as he watched them rush towards him. All of them surrounded him and launched their attacks forward. Blood exploded all over. Screams could be heard as several arms were removed. Naruto was now in mid-air. He came down on his heel, cracked a guy's skull in half. He spun and knocked a Kunoichi head off her body. He grabbed a guy by his eyes and tore his face off. Naruto slammed his heel in another guy's nose, obliterating it. He rolled before gutting another individual. It was a massacre. He tore them limb from limb. Orochimaru stood there watching. Orochimaru did not want to enter the fight, not knowing of Naruto's skills, but now he knew. And the most thing that he had to watch out for was that slash that he used to cleave into people's skin. 1 minute, that was all it took, and all the 30 ninjas were dead. Naruto was now standing beside the Sannin, the both of them, looking the other way. In the span of a fraction of a second, they spun and their hands connected. They blurred away. It was chaos all over. The whole place was being destroyed. Orochimaru reappeared in mid-air. Hidden shadow snakes, he said. Multiple snakes rushed from his sleeve and came towards Naruto. They were all slashed apart. Naruto flipped and swung his heel. The Sannin caught it as he spun Naruto around and launched him. Orochimaru slammed his hand together. A massive snake erupted from the earth and swallowed Naruto. The snake was split in half as Naruto emerged and shoulder tackled right into the Sannin. They broke through 3 walls. Orochimaru kicked Naruto off of him. He got to his feet as Naruto spun in mid-air and came back towards him. They broke through another wall, and another and another. Orochimaru was thrown. He crashed along the ground before he slammed hard into the opposite wall. As Naruto stepped out of the hole, "Come on now, Snakey," he said. "You must can do better than that. I'm honestly getting bored. Here I thought when I found you that you would give me a good battle. And look at you, all beaten and pathetic." Orochimaru's neck lashed out, trying to bite Naruto. However, Naruto was gone. Boom! He stepped into Orochimaru's skull, slamming his head hard down into the ground. Naruto reached to pick it up. However, Orochimaru retracted his body instead of his head and landed a devastating blow right in Naruto's face. The Sannin did not let up. He sped through hand sign and gathered an obscene amount of chakra. Orochimaru released a wind attack that started to devastate the surrounding area. He sped through hand sign once again and added fire into the mix. The whole thing went up in a colossal. However, before it could boom though, the Sannin covered it with a rock platform, causing the explosion to fester, and then boom! A wide-scale explosion blew the entire place apart, even forcing him to jump back. The Sanin stood there watching the smoke, waiting to see. Are you looking for me? The Sanin was caught off guard as Naruto gripped his face and slammed him into the earth. He tore Orochimaru out of the earth and held him up. I call this one Cleave, said Naruto. Orochimaru released a blood-curdling scream. Deep gouges appear from his head down to his toe, tearing and ripping his body out. As Naruto dropped him, the Sanin fell on his knees. Orochimaru coughed, pure blood leaking from his mouth. Immediately, he activated his technique as Naruto waved his hand. The Sanin back was turned as a deep gash tore into his back. Naruto jumped and stomped into the back of his throat. Before he gripped Orochimaru's mouth, he started to pull. The Sanin screamed as Naruto ripped him apart. At the last second, another Orochimaru jumped out. His lower half turned into a snake. Orochimaru cleared the distance between them. The Sanin was taking deep, heavy breaths as he looked at Naruto. He seemed extremely fearful. Come on now, said Naruto. I'm getting bored. Show me something better, he said. Orochimaru stood there. He was baffled. He couldn't understand. How could his strength have grown so much in such a short period of time? The Sanin refused to believe that he was going to lose. Too bad. Seems I'm just gonna have to kill you. Orochimaru started to chuckle. Kill me. Kill me. His laughter turned in psychotic. You think you are insolent, hyperactive, bloodthirsty, moronic child could ever kill what I am. Orochimaru slammed his hand together. 8 branches technique, he said. Naruto watched as the man swell in front of him and then burst. 8 massive snakes. They were white, thorns behind them. They towered over him. They were all connected together with massive heads, 8 in total. Naruto stood there as they all hissed down at him. The one in the center breathed an insane wave of flames. Naruto leaped into the sky when he saw one of the heads reaching towards him. Naruto twisted his body and crashed right on the thing's mouth. It brought its mouth down to chomp. However, Naruto grabbed the fangs and snapped them. He then slammed his heel into the thing's mouth. The head was blasted toward the sky as Naruto flew out of it. 3 others came at him, both from the sides and one right in the center. Naruto pushed out his hands as all of the heads were sliced clean off. However, they regrew in a second. 2 of them bit right into his side. The other one reached for his head. However, Naruto simply smirked, a trail of blood leaving his lips. Purple curse energy gathered around him as he let out a yell. A violent eruption reduced all of the heads that hold on to him to dust as Naruto landed right in the crook of the neck. He reached down as he shoved his hand clean through one of them and went around it, tearing that head apart. The remaining 4 came down towards him. As they tried to grab him, Naruto leaped up in the sky and spun. 2 of them were beheaded as Naruto grabbed one of the heads and slammed it into another. He then kicked right through it into another one. The center one regrew as Orochimaru was his tongue, his kusanagi in his hand as he drove it forward. There was no way that he could move in mid-air. Orochimaru thought as he was going to end his life. However, Naruto spun, curse energy flowing through him. Boom! His fist made contact with the kusanagi and it exploded into a million pieces. Naruto then kicked Orochimaru right in the throat. The Sanin was pushed right back in the snake's mouth. Orochimaru inside slammed his hand together, forcefully pushing out his chakra. All the heads regrew as Naruto landed. "You cannot kill me!" the Sannin screamed. "I will be the one to be standing over your dead body." Orochimaru started to lose himself in rage at the idea of being killed by someone like him. All of the heads started to gather purple energy. Like his curse marked that foul, twisted chakra. Naruto watched it grow in front of him. It looked like a tail beast bomb. It grew larger, and larger, and larger. Naruto brought his hand together before he opened it. A tiny flame ignited right in his palm. He twirled his hand as it started to get larger. "Let's see which one of us survived this then," Naruto said as he aimed a flaming arrow toward the Sannin. The arrow quadrupled in size. Massive. The heat was so intense that the rocks, even the ground that Naruto stood on, gave way. It was melted as Naruto was hovering with curse energy, keeping his body upright. Orochimaru launched his spear and Naruto launched his arrow. What followed was a blast. It eviscerated all sounds. It eviscerated everyone's visions. Everything was white, everything was silent until the after effect came. The whole vicinity was evaporated. It was wiped away. The land was burned beyond recognition. Everything was gone. There was nothing remaining. It was all simply erased by the blast. The problem was, Orochimaru's technique had stopped immediately, and it was overpowered. It just showed the vast amount of power that Naruto was able to gather and reach in just 3 years, and he was still growing, immensely so. Naruto lay in a pile of heap as he pulled himself out of it, still smiling. He walked forward. The ground was black tar. He made his way until he arrived to see Orochimaru crawling on the ground. His pitiful 8-headed snake had been reduced to nothing, pure ashes around. The Sannin was trying to get away. After using up so much of his chakra to rebuild the snake's head and release that attack, not to mention the 3rd-degree burns all over him. The Sannin could not understand. How could he get so much stronger than him? It made no sense. Was the child holding back this entire time? That was the only way that he could see that would explain what happened. Otherwise, he truly did not know. "Hi there," said Naruto, as he stooped down. "Where exactly do you think that you're going?" he asked. Orochimaru looked up. Before he spat, a snake rushed out of his mouth towards Naruto's neck. Naruto bit the snake head clean off before he grabbed Orochimaru by the head and roughly slammed it 10 times into the ground. The Sannin's skull was busted open and bleeding heavily. Naruto flipped him over as he looked down towards him. "What? Have nothing to say?" Naruto could tell that the Sannin was having a dilemma about his mortality, but he really did not care. Naruto waved his hand and split Orochimaru's hands clean off. Before splitting his legs clean off, he then grabbed him by the throat and dragged him along. He lifted him up. Never in your wildest dreams that you thought it might end this way, did you? As Naruto brought him closer, were you gonna say something? Orochimaru opened his mouth as Naruto grabbed his face and tore his face off, allowing blood to spray all over. Naruto lifted him up before his hand started to ignite. A blood-curdling scream escaped the Sannin's throat as he was roasted alive. Naruto watched his body burn away into nothingness. He had to say, that did not give him the excitement that he desired. Naruto heard something as he vanished. Kabuto collapsed down to his butt as Naruto appeared in front of him. Fear whipping off of him like a tsunami. "Ah, I know you. What was your name again?" said Naruto. The fear that Kabuto was feeling was truly something that baffled him. He's been around very dangerous people, even the Sanin, and yet, the feeling that was coming from Naruto was leaving him speechless. Don't bother, said Naruto. I'm not interested in your name. I'm not even interested in you. However you were, a student of the Sanin. Tell you what, I'll let you live. But in return, you're gonna have to find a way to get stronger. Or find someone stronger and bring them, for me to fight them, said Naruto as he glared down towards Kabuto. The bloodlust that leaked from Naruto naturally was scaring the living shit out of Kabuto. He could not even speak. Naruto patted him on the face before walking away. I expect results, whatever your name is. Otherwise, I'll return, and I'll rip you limb from limb just like I did your master. With that, Naruto vanished away, leaving destruction in his wake. Pure brutality, without a shred of mercy. Time skip. Naruto sat on his throne. All around was naked women. A lot of them. A whole bunch. They were cleaning the place, or bringing him food. As stated before, he was not a human. Before, his memories were sealed away. His true instincts were sealed away. But no longer were they sealed away, and his taste returned. Urami was also his personal chef as well, because Naruto eat humans. Yes, but it was hard to cook them. He did not eat them raw. But Urami had a specialty in cooking them for him, and thus, all the meal in front of him. Yes, it was people. Given what he was, it's not really a surprise. He loved the chaos, not to mention the women. A lot of them. The chamber door opened. As Urami walked inside, she bowed her head respectfully as always. My lord, she said, we have been able to gather the information that you seek. It turns out that Konoha is the one with the 7 tails. The leader of the Hidden Waterfall Shibuki handed the 7 tails over because he feared how easily you could have taken it away from him. What about the others, said Naruto. The 2 and 8 tails are stated to have left Kumo some time ago. When you started your hunt, my lord, she said. As of this moment, we're not sure where they are. However, we are certain that the 4 and 5 tails are still inside of the village. Recently, they were living at the border of the village, but given your recent attack on the others, Oniki made a move to keep them inside, somewhere safe and protected. That's all they were able to gather. Naruto brought a hand up to his chin as he thought to think about that. There were 2 reasons why he was going after the tail beasts. 1. A finger of his was in all of them, a part of his power. And the other reason, the combined tail beast's power could break the seal. Yes, a seal was placed on his people that would send their spirit back to that world, that accursed world where he ruled as king of all. If it wasn't for the human body that Urami and the others were in, they would be sent back immediately. But Naruto had thought fast and placed them in human bodies, spreading them around the elemental nation so long ago. But she was able to find them all and regroup. However, the other thousands, they were still locked away in that cursed world. Sage of 6 Paths doing, of course. And the only way to break that seal was to gather all the tail beast's power because he used the tail beast's power to create it. Not to mention, Naruto was planning on merging the 2 worlds together. Years ago, when he first stepped on the mortal plane, he never came at full power. If you were doing it by the number of fingers that he had, he only came at 15 when he fought the sage and lost. After a long, countless death, dreadful battle that is. And his power was still not complete. Even if one of his fingers is missing, his power is still not complete. However, over the years, this body has been gaining strength. He did not know if it was a human part and the cursed part mixed together that made it so powerful, but it was stronger than what he was before. And when combining everything together, That brought a smile to his face. Yet, the portion of his power that did not come to this plane of existence was still trapped in that accursed world. That is why he wanted to merge both the worlds together. Once that is done, he could regain his full power, and all of the other spirits that he rule and command over, all of the other curses, they would be able to walk the human plane. And that is when things would become truly fun, he thought to himself. So much of his power was still restricted, so much of his ability, and so much of his true strength. He could not even use his domain expansion at full power. It was easier to break through that damn seal that the Sage of Six Paths had placed. It also affected him because he was also a curse as well. While he was their king, and vastly, extremely vastly stronger, it also weakened him, his abilities mostly. It's only a matter of time though, before he broke them, all the restrictions. Naruto got up. He didn't have time to waste. The age of curses will be brought forward very soon. Gather everyone, said Naruto. It's time we start a bit of chaos. She nodded immediately. As Naruto made his way, someone stopped in front of him. What's going on? It was none other than Teiwaya, his first successful human curse hybrid. While he was similar because of his, birthing status coming back in this world, she was pure human. He had diluted her nature and turned her into something far more deadly and wicked. He rested a hand on her cheek. Usually, if this was the old Teiwaya, there would be a lot of curse words, but now, she leaned into his touch. She was indebted. She was willing to do whatever he say. Whatever he say. We're going on a bit of a hunt, said Naruto. She nodded immediately. Meanwhile that was going on, Kabuto could not catch a break from the destruction of his master and their home base. Kabuto was now being hypnotized to relay every single piece of information that he knew. The one that was doing this was none other than Itachi Uchiha. For the past 3 years, Itachi has been mocked, ridiculed. He was no longer a part of the organization. He was no longer with the Akatsuki. He deserted. And he was sure that they were after him, but he just could not find it within himself to care. He felt nothing. Literally nothing. It wasn't even anger, rage. He just felt broken. Imagine, all your life, you tried to do what was good. And even when it came to civil war, you killed your own parents and your own damn clan, leaving behind the one that you love the most, your younger brother. You left him behind so that he would change the view on how people saw Uchiha, so that he would create a better clan. He will start from the bottom, building the clan back up. And yet he died. He was brutally killed. Itachi did not care about Konoha. He did not care about himself. He cared for nothing. For the past 3 years he has been hunting Naruto, but every time he got close, Naruto was mocking him. Every time he got to a close location, written in blood somewhere on the wall, was, "Hey big brother, it's Sasuke." Naruto was mocking him because Naruto knew that he was after him. He was doing this to torment him. Not even confronting him to fight, he was just ridiculing and mocking him. Itachi has spent days after days, weeks after weeks, months after months, and now years searching. He left the organization. He left it all behind. And he was still searching. This was the closest that he's ever gotten. As Kabuto told him everything, Itachi did not even bother to kill Kabuto. He just left, trying to follow the trail, trying to locate Naruto. If it's the last thing that he do in this world, he was going to kill Naruto Uzumaki. Yes, he was. Over the past 3 years, When the other nations heard that the Kyuubi Jinchuriki had deserted, they thought it might be best to take the beast away from him. So he has been attacked by countless Kumo and stone ninjas who thought that it was in their best interest going after their leader words to kidnap him. However, none of them ever made it back alive. All that was left was their corpses. Naruto had stacked them in a way just to taunt the other nations, not to mention about his pursuers. For one, it was Itachi Uchiha. He found it rather funny that he was chasing after him because he killed Sasuke. Every time that Naruto knew that he was close, he left behind a little message for him, just to piss him off, as he found it fun. And sometimes he'd get really bored, so yes, he'd do what he want. What was fun, of course. It was rather shocking, as Naruto did not really care for anyone, or really care what they think or fear anyone. That is why he simply walked up to the gates of the Hidden Stone. The village was surrounded by a massive column that stretched all around it. There was a boot. Beyond that was the gates. The two ninjas inside instantly recognized his features. After all, he was in everyone's bingo books. They were speechless. Immediately, weapons were drawn. One of them reached for something. However, Naruto grabbed the both of their face. The boot exploded into pieces. He slammed their skull into the wall. Brain matter and blood went everywhere. Naruto stepped towards the gates before he sliced them into pieces. He then simply walked through. There were people on the street going about their daily business as they saw him. Naruto whistled. Countless people run from behind him and started to create chaos. Teiwaya was amongst them as well. She was vastly stronger than most of them, as she crushed skulls, decapitated people. She ground bodies into pieces. As Naruto licked his lips, he liked the bloodlust. Urame was not there though. She had more important things to deal with. As Naruto walked, he looked around, casually. People tried to attack him, but the cursed spirits in human forms, they slaughtered them as they walked. They had retained a large portion of their power. Yes, some of it was cut away, but these were the strongest of the strong that had came with him. Majority of the others had died. However, there were still countless trapped in that cursed world. As Naruto walked, more ninjas started to flock to his side. Many start to bring the civilian to safety. Naruto raised his hand as he watched a mother running with her child. Flames gather in his palm as he shoot them outwards. The mother and child was burned to crisps. Naruto kept on launching flames all around to the buildings, breaking and burning them down. He bent his knees before he jumped. He was hovering over the village. He was not flying, he was just jumping. As he looked around, he crashed right through a building as he brought it down. He kept on walking. Several ninjas surrounded him. They went through hand sign, earth style, slice. Their heads were taken off as Naruto kicked a guy's chest clean out. He kept on walking, mercilessly slaughtering everyone in his wake. Naruto stepped through a building by kicking the door clean through. Inside he saw some people hiding. Civilians, probably. The whole thing was sliced into pieces. People and the building as well. As Naruto stepped through as it fell behind him, everyone started to run around, doing their best to quell the fighting. Naruto bent his knees and jumped, breaking through the building. It was the leader's building. Oniki, who had taken to the roof, felt it as he came flying down. He reached inside as Naruto was seated in his chair. Oniki was baffled. The gall to do something like this. Where are the tail beasts? Said Naruto. Naruto vanished as Oniki incinerated his own chair with his particle style. Naruto was now leaned up against a wall. Naruto moved once again as Oniki kept on destroying his own office. Naruto's speed was ridiculous. But Oniki was not a Kage for nothing, as Naruto's arm was caught and eviscerated. His right leg was caught as well. However, they regrew in a second. Naruto jumped away as he landed outside. Oniki came out with a fury, both of his arms surrounded by rock. He smashed the area, completely obliterating it. Naruto ripped the ground apart as he fell underneath into a strange, elaborate system. As he ran, multiple rock bullets started to slam through the place. One of them tore through his chest. However, the wound healed rather quickly as Naruto jumped. Boom! He lit the entire place ablaze. A violent blast cracked the streets and upturned building. It caught onto a gas, a piping gas that spread through the village. What followed was a colossal blast. Meanwhile, Han and Roshi, they were not really that close. However, Oniki had advised them to return to the village, to stay for a while until this threat is dealt with. The boy has been proven rather deadly, and they were not in the village, they were in the outskirts, and the ninjas would not have time to aid them. Oniki demanded them to return. The both of them, they were getting up there in ages, and they rather not go to war with Oniki, so they made a compromise. As the both of them heard the explosion, they were not being guarded or anything. They looked at each other, wondering. The both of them geared themselves up and made their way out. What they saw truly baffled them. It was pure chaos. Hey! The both of them looked up as Naruto was standing there. It's you. The one that is after us. Yep, that would be me. And you too. It would be in your best interest to try and kill me. Otherwise, this whole village will be flattened by the time I'm done. So why don't you follow me? Naruto vanished away. The both of them vanished in raw speed as well. It was chaos going through the village. Lucky thing there was no people there, so they could let loose. Lava release, steam release. Naruto evaded it all with a smile on his face. He crashed through buildings and destroyed everything in his wake. He jumped in the sky as he whistled, rather loudly. Teiwaya looked up. She quickly started to give out orders to the others. It was time that they go. Their master seemed to have retrieved what they were after. Naruto landed right in the square of the village. Looking around, countless ninjas were coming his way. As he smiled, Han and Roshi both rushed towards him at immense speed. The grin on Naruto's face only stretched even more as he motioned for them to come to him. Meanwhile, that was going on. Standing on the tallest tower as the rain poured down was none other than Pain. Piercings in his face is orange hair, flapping in the wind. The second person to run away from the organization, Itachi Uchiha. First Orochimaru and now Itachi. Pain had no idea that Orochimaru is now dead. The news had not spread just yet. This boy has caused a lot of problems for the organization. He's gathered a few of the beasts, and he's allowed the others to conceal the others away, interrupting the Akatsuki task. That is why. Slowly but surely a vortex opened up behind him. Stepping out of it was a masked man. It's time that they discuss the end of Naruto Uzumaki. Meanwhile that was going on, Setsu was furious. Urami was the only other person on this earth that knew his true desire, that knew what he wanted the Akatsuki for. The both of them had made a deal that he would help her bring her master back as long as she helped him bring his mother back. Granted, he was going to betray her. However, she betrayed him first. The last time they met, she tried to freeze him alive. He had to sacrifice White Zetsu to get away. However, the problem was, Her master was somehow back. Zetsu knew of Sukuna, now going by the name Naruto. Unlike many, Zetsu knew the true terror that person was. The true, utter terror. The things that he has done before the sage was finally able to seal him away. The sage was using the full power of the Jube, and even then, it was so close. One more turn and Sukuna would have came out on top. And what was the boggling thing was, Zetsu remembers Sukuna saying that he was not at 100%. That meant he was far stronger than the sage. And if he was back, Zetsu truly did not know what to do. On how he was going to get those tail pieces. On how he was going to push things to make his mother return. If anything is going to happen, they were going to need to kill Sukuna. He was going to have to make the Akatsuki fear him even more. Trying to push his own narratives of things that he did not see. He needed for the entire Akatsuki to start hunting him right now. Get their damn mind off of Itachi. They need to focus on one person, because if they don't, they will all die. But guys, me and subscribe right here. If you want to see next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off for now. See you guys soon. Peace.